Good afternoon, everybody. This is Adrienne Montgomery with ERP VAR. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're going to be talking about Acumatica, 3 integrated tools to optimize profitability. My name is Adrienne Montgomery. I'm with ERP VAR, and we're talking about Acumatica today as the umbrella ERP. I'm so pleased to have Lightspeed, Focus, and VIP integrated payments with us. We are recording this webinar, and we will be sending out the recording to everybody who registered. And once again, thanks so much for joining us. A little bit about the speakers and the companies. We're joined today by Steve Moore, VP of Sales over at Lightspeed Voice, Paige Schrock, Solutions Consultant at Focus Software, and Maya Green, he's a partner over at VIP Integrated Payments. Thank you for joining me today. And just a little bit about Lightspeed. Lightspeed's a plug-and-play phone system with sales automation tools. It makes it easy to automate sales and customer services processes. This is a super popular solution. I've heard a lot of feedback on this, that lots of interest in this technology. Lightspeed Voice offers business communications advantages to the Fortune 500 at a fraction of the cost of other phone systems, and they enable the customer to release themselves from the expense and from the obsolete and inadequate telephone lines from the past with their state-of-the-art high-speed connectivity. So Steve's going to talk a little more about that and show us Lightspeed. We've got Paige is going to talk about Focus Software, and Focus connects seamlessly to Acumatica, and they identify sales opportunities, growing margins, optimizing processes, and how it's possible to achieve these and more with the most valuable assets at your fingertips, and that's the data in Acumatica. Best-in-class data analytics, and you can drill into key information and just follow that train of thought to gain insights by slicing the information the way you need it to make the decisions required for your business. And then VIP Integrated Payments is a leading provider of integrated payment technology for North American merchants. And they are differentiated because they have a multi-platform model. So they don't just try to squeeze you into one solution. They look at your unique business needs and they recommend the right payment solution to fit your situation. And they have more than 10 years of experience integrating and developing relationships, and they help drive your business to succeed and grow. And so a little bit about the workflow we're going to be talking about today. First, we're going to start off with Steve Moore over at Lightspeed. He's going to be talking about automating sales and customer service. And then Paige will take it from there to talk about business intelligence and looking at the data you need to see specifically for your situation in Acumatica and your role in the business as it applies to the data in Acumatica. And then Maya's going to talk about automating payment processing and what's the best type of solution for your unique business and mistakes to avoid when you go ahead and select a credit card processing or payment processing company. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over here to Steve to kick it off with Lightspeed.
Okay, just want to talk a little bit about Lightspeed Voice, how we interact with Acumatica as well as many other solutions. But we are kind of a new entrant into this space, so I'll give you some background as far as who we are, what we do, and then we'll kind of talk about the solution itself. But we are a leading VoIP and sales automation provider, so we do play in both of those spaces with a focus. I always kind of say we're a great phone company that provides sales automation. There's a lot of sales automation or different CRM solutions that kind of throw in the phones as an afterthought, but the phones really are the core of many businesses. So we are a top class provider there and own our own solution and data center, et cetera. But we are based down in Venice, Florida. We all have US-based employees, so from a service standpoint, it really allows us to provide service well beyond what most people are used to within the telecom space. It's really one of our strengths. The service and integrations pieces are the two biggest things for us. And the other key, as I mentioned, is we build, manage, support, sell do the billing. We do everything to our product. We own our own data centers that host everything. Many solutions are stored up on a, like an Amazon Web Services or one of these shared data center type of spots where they just, as a company, you just have no control over it. So we do own all of our infrastructure, which allows us to control the quality of the calls and service that you receive. We do have customers in every state in the U.S., so you may not have heard the name, but we're definitely out there servicing several folks. We did become a certified integration partner with Acumatica back in January, actually right before the summit. And we provide some exclusive integrations that you're not going to find with any other provider. And what that really means to you, and as we talk about profitability on this call, it's really about freeing up space and consolidating processes. So if you're a Lightspeed Voice customer and you're using Acumatica, when a phone call comes in, it would actually pop up the record of that client in Acumatica. And then upon completion of the call, it would insert a note into the record showing who called, who answered, how long was that call, and then possibly most importantly, a link to that recorded call. So someone calls back 6 months from now and they have some questions, or there was an order that had some questions on it, pull up that business account, right in that file, you're going to have access to the call recording. So there really is no question on either side. And obviously from a service standpoint, it's a great tool. So just to kind of, again, summarize that, call comes in, screen pops up, so you don't even have to search for the person. You hang up the call, the history for that call goes directly into that business account, and you're rocking and rolling. No other interaction needed on your side. And you get that great piece there. So, we are getting some pretty good interest and excitement based on that functionality. There is also outbound click to dial. So within the solution, you could click on a phone number and it would dial out that number, and you could actually do that on any website, basically. So you would right click on any phone number on the internet, in essence, and you'd be able to dial out via our solution. So, great stuff there from that certified piece, and that integration is something that you're not going to see pretty much anywhere else at this point. Don't know how long that'll last, but we're certainly going to beat it to death until we're not the only ones, but all good there. Just another kind of point we like to, we're Acumatica folks. We use it as a company. That's really how we ended up becoming able to get the integration done, is that, we did as a customer and a user, we built it for ourselves, and then, obviously brought it to Acumatica, and they really loved it, and we're kind of off and running from there. But, we're adding quite a few customers on the Acu side, and we're at the summit as well, so we had a blast there. And I guess it's May now of next year. We'll certainly be there. So we're looking forward to January, but we'll take May at this point. So we're looking forward to that, and hope to see you guys stop by the booth. So as far as the actual solution, the integration is certainly a differentiator, but it's a great product in general. It can really handle a business anywhere from 3 people to 500 people and above. You can create ring groups and queues and et cetera. Multi-locations we handle really well, being able to centralize a switchboard and all the stuff happening. You can see who's on calls and who's not, and all that good stuff. And then, as I mentioned, the recorded calls. And as a VoIP solution, you can listen in on calls live. You can whisper in or barge in on calls with staff if that's something that was needed. You can manage time clocks. Health redirect is another kind of interesting thing we have, where, internet phones are obviously, at the mercy of internet. So in the cases, they're not as much these days, but if there was an outage on the internet, our system would detect that and actually forward all the calls to a number of your choice. It could be a cell phone, could be a different location, a lot of different things, but we provide that so you don't have any downtime, even in the case where there is a service interruption. You can get a ton of reporting, and I'll kind of give you a couple minute look at that. lots of leaderboards, so activity within the office. And then, as I mentioned, our customer support. I always encourage people to just Google our company, Lightspeed Voice, check out our reviews. I think we're creeping up on about 250 reviews, and we're still at 5 stars. And I always love it because a lot of them will name names of people that helped them and did a lot of great stuff for them. So it's something that we pride ourselves on as we continue to grow. And certainly as we grow, we're focusing on maintaining that level of service. So I'll kind of jump into the solution in a second, but as kind of a general overview, this would be kind of the main screen you're looking at. Just at a high level, you can kind of see how much call time the company's had for that particular day, the number of outbound calls broken out by time, the number of inbound calls broken out by time, and then if wait time is a challenge, you're able to see that in real time as well. And then we've got some great visual leaderboards, so you can kind of see, depending on what kind of organization. Obviously, if it's a sales organization, you're going to want to see a bunch of outbound dialing, et cetera, but you've got all that information. And then I'll just kind of pull up real quickly the product itself to kind of show you the visual on the dashboard. So this is actually our, Lightspeed Voices, not our customer service team, but the kind of the operations side of the house. But you can see, how many calls people made. You can see Justin's actually been on a 5-minute phone call with Angie. If somebody's phone is ringing, it lights up blue, so you can see that. And then you can see statuses, right? So I can see Khan is available. I'm on Do Not Disturb for a long time. And, Isaiah is maybe on a break or working on something. So you always know who's doing what within. And some of the other cool functionality is there's some drag and drop call functionality. So let's assume Justin needed to transfer this call to Greg. He would be able to just click on that, drag it over, and you can do it on this right side as well. And that call would get transferred directly to Greg or whoever needed to be taking that call. Obviously, we've got voicemail functionality. You've got speed dials, phone book, etc. So the phone functionality is really great. In many cases, you would still have a physical phone. We tend to encourage it just from a call quality standpoint, but most of the functionality you can actually do from the screen here. And the other piece we've got around is the sales automation. So I'm always a terrible example on here, but I'll pull up somebody that's doing a bunch of stuff. So when we say sales automation, what we're talking about are emails, phone calls, and text messages. And you can schedule workflows or plans. We can provide those, default ones for you, or you can create them on your own where, you want to call somebody on day 1, text them on day 2, email them on days 5, 10, and 20. You can set those types of things up, and the text and emails will go out automatically. And the phone calls will queue up for you. And then you can see down in the bottom left, there's a dialer, and you would just click away on that dialer to send out, make those phone calls. And then again, just a different view on the plans. I'm just trying to find it's looking like my account is not showing the sales automation piece, so I'll adjust accordingly. Not sure what's up there. But again, you can just see more detailed reporting. I can pull a list for the day, the week, the month, who's making the calls, who's not. If I wanted to listen to that call recording, I could click on call history and it would list out, and I could click on that call and listen to pretty much any one at that time. So in essence, as we're working through time crunch, we want to value your guys' time, et cetera. But we do integrate with many other solutions other than Acumatica. So I know whether it's HubSpot or Salesforce, any of those kind of major technologies we integrate with. And one of the interesting things that we can do as well, and we actually do it internally, is not everybody wants to have the integration to Acumatica, right? Like our sales team wants it to be integrated into our own solution, right? But our billing team and our operations team want the integration into Acumatica. So we can set that up differently within the organization. So if you've got if you are using HubSpot along with Acumatica, the team using HubSpot each user would have to pick one basically, but you're not locked in across the organization, which in most cases is the way things are going to run. I know Acumatica is doing it a lot, and I'm still learning about their new release. They got a lot of stuff coming in that sales CRM space as well, but I know many folks are using multiple systems, and we can accommodate that for sure. And then from an access standpoint, our user access is tremendous. So if you want certain people to be able to do certain things, like the listening to live calls is a good example, right? You don't want everybody to be able to do that, or the barging in on calls, etc. So that's all things that you could dictate per user to make sure nobody's seeing or hearing stuff that they shouldn't. Is kind of the deal there. And we do offer a nice texting solution. So you can text off of your main business number in most cases. And, if you are doing that within your sales process or even customer service process, we can accommodate that. And it's a nice user interface where you can kind of see the texts going back and forth for folks, and you can trigger the texts and everything out accordingly. So you can just kind of see, and if I, just type in there and hit send, then I'm good to go. So we do handle texting, and that we offer the solution two ways. You can just do a phone only solution, which would include the text messaging, or the sales automation is actually an add-on. So if you are looking for just phones and texting, we can handle that. If you want the sales automation, it's there's additional cost, but it provides a lot of good flexibility. And again, you can do that differently within your organization. If you have, a finance team and managers that don't need the sales automation, you don't need to put the sales automation on those particular phone lines. You would just do the phone only for the folks that need just the phones, and then you can add the sales automation to the other folks. So we're super flexible, really try and model ourselves to your business and not try and shoehorn into ours, which I think VIP Payments had that on their piece, and that's critical these days. Is we're not going to force you to do stuff. We want to make a solution that works best for your particular situation. From a sales team side, I kind of oversee the sales and marketing. Doug Pauls actually should be attending. He handles everything on the channel side. So you can certainly either reach out to myself or Doug if you're interested from a reseller standpoint. Obviously, if you're a direct end user, we're happy to chat with you as well. Again, typically either myself or Doug would be the best solutions there for you. So that's us. And just to kind of touch on that, the reseller piece, we have a couple ways we go about it. Most people, we have our referral partners where, you're either working a deal or you have an existing customer and you can just send them our way, and we kind of handle everything. And then that provides you a one-time compensation for sending us that client, and it can be pretty nice in some cases. And then we do have a complete, channel partner reseller program where there's more expectation on the reseller to handle more of the sales process. But, so you would really kind of have to almost be expert level on the system. So most people start as a referrer and then work their ways into the channel partner program, but we can handle each way. Another thing we do really well is onboarding our customers. It's a pretty stressful thing for people when they're changing their phone system. It's a major change for people. We have a team of dedicated people that their only job is to help people get switched over. So we would get the numbers ported in. We provide a dedicated resource up to 30 days or more if needed after you go live. You would have a dedicated resource, and obviously you'd still have our full support team at your convenience, but for those specific things that really kind of trip you up in the beginning, we do provide a single point of contact for you, which is a nice benefit. So I think I did pretty good on time, and that's definitely appreciate yours. and look forward to any questions toward the end. And thank you again.
Thank you, Steve. Paige, you are up.
Thank you, Adrian. So thanks everyone for your time today. My name is Paige Schrock. I'm a solution with focus. We're going to show you our BI software today. Excuse me. I'm sorry, our Focus BI solution for Acumatica today, and kind of give you a sense of how we differentiate ourselves within sort of the data analytics marketplace, but specifically geared around questions of profitability. I think this is a fairly relevant question given kind of everyone struggling with COVID and managing cash flow and making sure that whatever activities you're engaging in are profitable. It is pertinent, and having access to your data at this point is pretty important. We've got a pretty good solution for that. So real quick background on Focus. We are an Acumatica certified solution. We are a global company with over 1,700 customers, 20,000 plus users. We've been around for 20 years in the BI and data analytics space. So lots of experience working with customers on their data visualizations, that sort of thing. So one of the things that we do really well in delivering our solution into various markets is we emphasize having a very fast ROI. Part of that is the partnerships that we put in place in those markets. So we work with VARs, we work with ERP publishers to understand what the customer base looks like and to deliver right out of the box things that are relevant for users to get going right away. At the same time, we deliver something that's highly customizable. So when you look at some of those awards that we've won there down at the bottom, we score really highly around ease of use and adoption because our solution is designed as self-service BI for end users. So what that means, and you'll see through some of the webinar today, is that we're not delivering just a platform that you have to build out yourself and kind of put the hooks into Acumatica. At the same time, we're not delivering a pre-canned sort of suite of reports and visualizations that you're locked into and that you would have to come back to us or to another consultant to change. We're really nicely in the middle of that. We're giving you some out-of-the-box content around sales and inventory, and production, finance, and so on. But at the same time, it's so easy to use and tailor it to make it your own that it's really going to drive adoption rates across your whole business. It's not an IT-centric solution. It is an end-user solution, really designed to help you make better decisions using your data. So, oops, too many slides. There we go. So today we're going to talk a little bit around customer profitability. One of the things that we try to emphasize is the need to actually take action with your data. I think that some of the solutions that exist, not just in the Acumatica space, but in BI in general, they throw so much at you that it makes it hard to find out which parts are important and which parts aren't. And you end up measuring a lot of things just for the sake of measuring them, and that's not what we want to do. The way we design our product and our solutions is to allow you to ask and answer questions that are going to drive change within your business. So for today, we're going to talk a bit about what could I do, given the data that's coming out of Acumatica or whatever data source you're using, to improve some profitability with customers, to talk about opportunities with those customers, and have important conversations. Not just straight sales reporting, but actionable business intelligence. So this is Focus. It is a web-delivered BI platform, so you can access it anywhere. You've got an internet connection and a browser. It's device adaptive. So if you're on a laptop or you're on your tablet or your phone, you'll be able to bring up the device or your Focus site without having to do any additional configuration or manipulation, anything like that. So this is a typical Focus dashboard. When we deliver these solutions, we are taking kind of a holistic look at your business. So when you get into these dashboards, you'll have, obviously kind of some high-level sales information that you might be looking at. We're bringing in sales from a lot of different angles, not just the revenue, but also CRM activity and commission payouts. We'll also take a look at inventory, some of the operations side of the house, bring in maybe some supply chain as well. And then finally, on this dashboard, I happen to have AR, but you could also have your financial reporting data. We've got a new tool for that. Your AP data, like I said, production, field service, whatever you have can be brought into focus and visualized. The idea is that it's a platform for analyzing and exploring your data, whatever that data might be. So, the dashboards are a great starting point, and this is where a lot of folks will start working with Focus. What dashboards are really, really good at is telling you kind of what's going on right now, or where are some starting points for making improvements within your business. If I look at that sales versus budget widget on my dashboard, I've got my sales and my budgets within each one of my different customer channels. One of the things we make really easy to do is to configure these charts according to different thresholds. So I can say, all right, what percentage falls into green or yellow, or like this education channel here, what falls into red. That instantly draws your eye and says, hey, this is something I need to start taking a look at. So I can apply a filter on just that education channel by clicking on it, hitting focus. It's going to update all of the widgets on that dashboard, so all the charts, graphs, KPIs, and so on. As that's refreshing, one of the things to think about is the ability to be able to customize and tailor your KPIs is really important, because now you start to create alignment across all of your different areas of your organization. So everyone's looking at the same charts, they're looking at the same threshold, it's all showing up. Whatever the standard is showing up as red, everyone's seeing it the same way. And that's really important. I think that doesn't get highlighted enough, to have that kind of alignment using visualization as a tool to get there. So now I've applied this filter. You can see I'm having some sales difficulties. I'm down kind of the last 6 months or so in my sales growth. If I scroll down, I've got some profit growth problems. I need to figure out what's going on with this education channel. This is where focus, the power of focus really kind of shines through, is in the ability to start answering the question, what's happening, or why is it happening? Like I said, dashboards are good for telling you kind of what's going on right now. They're not great at letting you explore why it's happening. And that's where focus really, really shines. So from any place on this dashboard, I can hit the Analyze button. It's going to drop me into the underlying data. So this is our data cubes, or our database. The center section here displays records and measures. We call it the grid. Left-hand side is a series of dimensions. I can slice and dice through these to display different types of records and apply filters. All of this is customized to your implementation. So you're not forced into some of this generic dimensional strategies. It's rather whatever you want to call it. We have out-of-the-box integrations for Acumatica using Acumatica, naming conventions, but you can tailor it to be whatever you want to be. So whatever makes the most sense for your business, you can do. So I can go through this data, I can sort the columns, I can start applying filters, looking at certain sales reps who might have declining profit kind of over a current period versus a previous period. I can dive through the dimensional data from multiple different angles. Everything is pre-summarized and indexed, which means I'm actually looking at invoice level transactional data that's rolled up and summarized. So this $67,000, really what that is $67,000 of LV lighting that was sold to a customer that was assigned to one of these reps, and that customer had this property. Okay, so it is a really sort of nuanced view to be able to explore your data, apply those filters, and really drill through. At any point, I can dive all the way into the individual transactions and see what the details are that make up that summary in that previous screen. Okay, we can spend a lot more time on this. This is just to kind of give you an overview or a flavor of what the UI is like and some of that core functionality. There's a lot within the tool that I won't get to today, but I want to start talking more about this specific profitability use case. So there's two big stories around profitability that are really important. The first story I want to talk about is, how do you organize your data across disparate sources to identify areas of opportunity around profitability. So one of the things that we do really well with Focus is bringing in data from all those different sources very quickly and easily. We do that using our database designer tool. That's what you see here. So in the bottom section here is our transactional data. We're actually able to join data from different sources that may only have one or two elements in common. So really good example here. I've got some sales data history. This might be coming out of Acumatica. This is invoices. And I've got CRM activity, right? And these are both joined on a customer ship to. So what this means in kind of plain language is I'm lining up all my sales against all my CRM activities for every single one of my customers. So what that looks like on the front end, I'll just change my period, is that if I go into any of my customers, and we'll just go into total mode, kind of summarize what we're looking at, I can look at their invoice value, their local value, right? That's coming out of my ERP, my Acumatica, or whatever ERP I'm using. I can also look at, because I've done that join, I can look at the CRM activity quantity. You just add that as part of my measures. And so I can see, okay, I generated this much revenue and it took this many CRM activities. So phone calls, outside sales calls, emails, touch points, whatever it is, that's that data coming through. And then once I have both of those sort of lined up, I can come in here and say, okay, let me divide the one by the other and come up with ratios. Now I can say, kind of an estimated level, every single CRM activity I do for each one of these customers generated X number of dollars of revenue. And so now I can start comparing my customers side by side. I can compare sales reps side by side, or the types of buckets of products that these customers are purchasing, to start comparing some of that cost to serve profitability around the CRM activity. All of that means is I can gauge where the biggest bang for my buck comes from, as far as where that CRM activity actually generates revenue. So that's one story. It's how you organize your data, how you bring in other data sources to start lining up things and capture insights that aren't wholly contained within one of those sources, right? I couldn't do this type of analysis necessarily just in my CRM. I couldn't do it necessarily just in Acumatica. I need a third-party tool like Focus to be able to bring that all in together. And so that could be CRM data, that could be, your Lightspeed phone system data could come in here, no problem. Some people take shipping data or their Starship data and bring that in. Whatever it is, we can almost always connect and bring that data in. Okay, so the second example, I want to talk about more of how a line user might end up interacting with the tool. So close your eyes, picture yourself as an outside salesperson, maybe pre-COVID. You're sitting in the parking lot of a customer. What are you, before the meeting that you're going to have with them, what are you going to talk about? Well, you might have kind of some contextual knowledge just based on your experience of that relationship with that customer, but what are you really going to talk about that's going to both serve the needs of the business and be relevant for that customer? To get the most out of those conversations and sort of, always keep that eye on profitability, you need to have data, and you have to have it right at your fingertips in an easily accessible fashion. So I'm the sales rep, I'm sitting in this customer parking lot, I bring up my handy dandy Pages customer scorecard. It's going to give me a lot of data about all of my customers, and I can use this to filter through those customers for just the one I'm about to wander into, who in this example is a customer called Motor Power. So I can search, I can find the location that I'm looking for, and I can focus on just that one customer. You can see, just like the previous dashboard, it applies that filter. Now, as I scroll down, I've got an opportunity based on the way I've organized my data to start drawing some interesting insights. So there's a couple of things that I'm looking at here. First thing is I've got performance monitors for all of my customers. So all of my AR is 8 million. My average value per invoice for all of my customers, about 3,400. My overall margin is 22%. And then I've got the comparisons for just this customer. So this customer's got some things that are good, some things that are not so good. So not so good, their value per invoice is pretty low, but their value per invoice line item is a little bit higher. Their margin's a little low, but their return percentage is a little higher, and they don't owe me any AR right now. So on the surface, this customer, they're probably a pretty good customer for me. I'd like to be able to ship more per invoice, and I'd like to get maybe a little bit higher margin, but overall, they're pretty good. So how do I take this? And this is good contextual information. If I scroll down a little bit, I can kind of see how this customer is doing overall. I can see what their product mix looks like. These are good starting points for conversation, or at least having the context for those conversations. How do I actually change this into something that's going to help me drive a decision point with that customer or work on improving profitability? Well, there's a couple of different things I could do. Maybe I'm interested in understanding how is it that I'm getting this higher average value per line item than my typical customer, and if there's something I can do to improve this margin. So at any point, just like the previous dashboard, I click that Analyze button, drop into the underlying data. Whatever the filter is coming from that dashboard, it's going to keep it. So I'm already focusing on this customer, and I'm looking at that particular measure, that reporting value per invoice line. So let's start exploring this data a little bit. We're going to go into product class, see what the comparisons are across my different product classes. Okay, so there's some product classes where I get a little bit more per line item versus others. This isn't really helpful. I need something more to have a conversation with that customer. This is a place where variance mode comes into handy. So variance mode takes whatever you're looking at and compares the current period to a previous period. And what that does is it says, look, Mr. Customer, you used to do this, whatever this was, and now you're here. How do we get you back to this if this is positive, or how do we encourage this behavior if you used to be doing well, or how do we encourage that behavior if you've since improved over past performance? So one of the things I see here is that my my invoice value per line in the controls area has dropped pretty significantly. Maybe that's product mix. Maybe there's something specific that's driving that. I need to find out what's going on. I can click on the products, see which products that is. It's a little bit of clutter here, but I can see there's some things that they don't buy anymore that they used to buy. That's an area for conversation. And there appear to be some things that they don't buy anymore, or I'm sorry, that they do buy, but that the price has dropped. I can apply a quick filter on here and say, let's say the previous is greater than 0. So I don't want to look at new things. I want to look at things that they used to buy. And let's highlight these, see how those have performed over time. So really quickly, I could see that, okay, my price has dropped on some of these items. Maybe I need to understand kind of what's going on as far as my offerings into that customer. I can add in my cost per item and understand how my costs have changed. I can go back and I can start adding in things like quantities. I can do comparisons across, the number of line items on those orders. All sorts of conversation starters here for what their product purchases from me look like, and what I can do to start deriving that profitability a little bit higher. So I don't want to take up any more time for the other presenters, but this is kind of a really good use case where we started with something at a really high level, right? We started with that, I'm sitting in that parking lot, I want to see what that customer is doing. And on my iPad, I was able to drill into that customer scorecard, drill into some different elements. And now I've got some conversation starters where, hey, our prices dropped a little bit here. I need you to give me more business, or we need to talk about your order patterning or ordering pattern, or the mix of products that you buy, right? All kinds of different things that I can now start talking to that customer about. And I didn't have to be a data scientist to produce the report. I could do it literally sitting in the parking lot, just getting ready to talk to that customer. So coming out of the demo, what's next? Please feel free to reach out at marketing@focussoftware.com. We can set up an hour-long demo. We can talk about your data analytics needs. I can go into in-depth in our Acumatica solution, or any kind of other areas of BI that you might be interested in. We're really excited to be a part of the Acumatica space. We've been doing really well, and there seems to be a lot of need for the type of solution that we're delivering. So that's really encouraging within that space. And I think that's my last slide. It is. Thanks for the time, and I will turn it back over.
Thank you so much, Paige. And Maya, you are up with VIP integrated payment.
We have been in this space for a long time. We differentiate ourselves a couple of ways. We are fully independent, and basically we try to stay, as ubiquitous as possible when it comes to payment solutions. We're not going to put a client in a solution that doesn't fit just to, push our needs, essentially. We make customized solutions based on the client's needs. We are fully partner-centric, meaning when we set up with a partner, we kind of follow their lead. What does the client need? What is the culture? We're essentially a extension of their business, right? So at the end of the day, we have a great development staff for our Acumatica product, couple of technology differentiators, one, Cloud EMV, and we can talk about this a little bit more. What we'll do is we'll get into, about us, talk about some early termination fees, long-term contracts, kind of what liquidated damages means, rate negotiation, supporting the industry, equipment leasing, overstated savings, basically what your client sees from different providers showing a savings on their merchant statement. We'll talk a little bit about support and, why to work with a payments consultant. The difference between us and standard, payments people is that we are consultants. Again, we are independent. We don't work for one company or the other. We are our own company, and we do solutions for your clients. At the end of the day, it's really about what is best for them. And so with that, what I'll do is I'll get into a couple of legal terms that you would see in a standard payment processing contract. I'm not a lawyer. Usually we would have our counsel here to kind of walk through, any of that terminology, explain to you what it means. So what I'll do is I'll just touch on it, let you know what it means from a, kind of a layman's perspective, and what you should look for when you're picking a payments partner, and what the client has to look forward to in certain contracts. Really the biggest and most important thing isn't necessarily the technology. It is a big important part, but the important piece is, am I signing my life away? Am I signing the client's life away? And really that's kind of where we come in. We are, the buffer between the payment processor and service provider and the client and you. So we represent you and the client. So first thing that we'll touch on is early termination fees and long-term contracts. In the industry, generally what you'll see is a 3-year term agreement. Some contracts will do rolling terms, which means if they don't cancel within a certain period of time of their term coming mature, then it will actually renew for a longer period of time. A lot of times that's 1 year. Some, contracts are 3 years, which is that's not the standard, but some in the integrated space that is the standard. And we never do any contract that is longer than month to month. It just doesn't make sense. We don't want to handcuff the client. So basically, as you can see here, it's a 3-year term agreement with a rolling 3 years if the party does not terminate within 90 days prior to the current term coming up. The other part that the client wants to look at in their payment processing contract is security interest of the operating account that they're working with. Meaning, do I have control over this, or does the merchant processor have control over that? Again, you generally do not want to let just the processor have control over that operating account, because they can essentially do whatever they want with it. If we go to 25 in this section, basically they're talking about indemnification, and what that is is it's really protection. Most good processors will do a mutual indemnification. So mutual insurance that says, if something happens, we're both covered. Some don't, especially in the integrated ERP space. And this one is basically a one-sided indemnification, basically one-sided insurance for the processor. We do not work with vendors that do that. So basically, the really important part that you want to look at is, what is the penalty if I decide to terminate my contract within the 3-year or 6-year, whatever term you've signed up for? And a lot of times, if you're not a lawyer, you don't know how to read it. I've been through this enough times with my with my counsel that I know how to read it. Essentially, in a lot of these, you will see what's called liquidated damages, which means that if the volume goes down, you decide to leave, whatever, they can essentially charge you the profit on the account or the discount rate on the account times the remaining months on the contract, which means if they're making, say, $400 off of the client a month, they can charge that $400 times the remaining months on the contract. And then some of them even go even further. If you look at the bottom of this section, not limited to one-time expenses used to set up the merchant account, discounted equipment, travel expenses, software conversion. So it's essentially open-ended. And at the end of the day, you really don't want to set your clients up for essential failure. This could be thousands and thousands of dollars. And the bottom line is, you really just need somebody that you work with. Your clients need people that they work with, that they can trust, that they know really has no dog in the fight. Don't get me wrong. We want to set up the merchant accounts for your clients. If we haven't set the merchant accounts up for them, we're still willing to help them. We're willing to help them, go through the weeds on all of this stuff. We're willing to, kind of tell them, walk them through anything that they need, any questions that they have, any support that they need, anything like that. We don't charge for that, in hopes that, one day they may be willing to work with us. Let us set up the merchant account for them. Essentially, let us be the extension of that business that I talked about before. So liquidated damages, again, a lot of times with the exclusivity, it comes hand in hand. Liquidated damages, again, is just basically the profitability on an account times the remaining months on the contract. Again, could add up to several $1,000s a month for the clients. We don't believe in it. We want them to feel like they're able to maneuver around and go where they want and do what is best for their business. Now, we know payments is a pretty dry subject, and legal terms are pretty dry. And you a lot of times don't have any interest in it, but that's kind of what we're here for. We have counsel on staff that can help us weed through this. So next is really how for your clients to negotiate low rates. And it's really just about knowledge. They have to know what the average effective rate and rates are for their industry. They don't need to provide their merchant information or their merchant statement up front. Really, they should always require a rate review, which means that once they sign up, once yearly, they should ask that merchant provider for a rate review to see if there's anything that they can improve upon. Never ever allow them to accept a tiered pricing structure. And the reason for that is because you never know what you're paying to the processor in a tiered situation. We can walk through that if you as partners have questions or the clients have questions. I know that that's, a term that you may not know, but and then always request to work with a manager, somebody that kind of makes the decisions, not a commissioned employee for obvious reasons. What I want to do is I want to ensure that you guys, have the tools at your disposal. The clients have the tools at their disposal, and we're here to help however we can. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it over to Tom to talk about a couple of different subjects. And if you guys have any questions, our information will be at the end. So I will let Tom move from this slide. And again, let us know if you have any questions.
You also want to work with a payments consultant that knows your industry. So we're both a certified Acumatica application as well as a customer validated application. So we specialize in wholesale distribution, manufacturing, construction, services, chemicals. So you can kind of read the list, but we are an extension of your business, and we live, breathe, and eat integrated ERP accounting integration. So it's pretty much all we do. We've specialized in it for about 15, 20 years. So when it comes to integrating your payments into Acumatica, we are kind of that specialty as far as, you know, how you want it configured in Acumatica, how you want the customer experience to be. So, you know, are you doing recurring payments, native processing? Do you want it inside the Acumatica customer portal, as well as allowing your customers to receive an email and doing a pay now option via email as well, and having that all integrated into Acumatica. So there typically isn't any question that comes past us that we're not able to answer. Now, unlike other processors, we don't lease credit card terminals. The credit card terminals are very inexpensive, and there's no reason to have a lease and tie you into that. So if you are with a current processor and they're charging you for that terminal or for that type of service, that's kind of a big no-no in our book. So again, something that can help reduce costs and have it all integrated. With the Acumatica integration, we also support EMV services. So if you want to be able to run Acumatica somewhat of a point of sale service, where you're creating the order or invoice, and then you have the customer present, and you want them to either use their phone for Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, or their EMV chip cards, or swiping the credit card on a terminal and having that integrated back into Acumatica, we provide that service as well. Another thing to watch out for is we also do credit card audits. So what we typically ask for is like 1 to 3 months of merchant statements, so that we can audit your merchant statement and provide a cost analysis to show you what you would save. One thing to watch out for is if you're working with another provider and they grossly overstate it. Like for this particular example, because we do provide interchange optimization. That's for if you know credit card processing, you've heard the term level 2 and level 3 processing. So we provide level 2 and level 3 processing to optimize the interchange. What this cost analysis represents is saying they did about 700,000 in credit cards that month, and they're trying to say that 688,000 of that was level 3. That's a big red flag in our book. As you look through the qualified and mid-qualified, none of that makes sense. And so when you get a cost analysis like this, where they're overstating it, where they're saying they're going to save you about $3,800 a month, watch out for that. You know, it's kind of the old saying, if it's too good to be true, it's usually not. So just read the detail and ask a lot of questions. That way you can understand it and make the person that's providing the cost analysis prove out how they got their numbers and where it's all generated from. And again, we offer live support, US-based, so 24/7, 365 for all of our solutions. So if you guys ever have any questions, you can call us, email us, text us, write us a letter, right? Anything that you want, we're readily available and stand next to you to provide that level of service. Like Maya said, be the extension of your business that you're looking for. Other than that, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Tom. And we will include all of this in the follow-up email, and we hope to see everybody on a future webinar. Stay safe out there, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care. Bye-bye.